Tonight, a Saskatchewan family deals with a medical emergency in Texas. LaLoche evacuees get the go-ahead to go home, and a new SHA policy to respect Indigenous beliefs about their own hair.
Live from our studios in Regina, this is CTV News.
Good evening. Working in a different country can come with risks, and unfortunately for a Swift Current family, they are living out one of those nightmares. As Damian Smith tells us, a husband and father is in critical condition tonight after being bit by a rattlesnake.
If something goes bad, I don't want to have to deal with that here. We want him home.
It's been a devastating few weeks for the Fairs. The Swift Current family is in Texas right now after Daniel Fair was bitten on the left ankle by a rattlesnake while enjoying some downtime from work on a golf course in Odessa, Texas. Daniel was taken to the hospital and is in stable but critical condition.
My husband called me 100 times a day, and he said he would call me when he was done golfing, and I was like, oh, he should be done by now, and something didn't feel right. My youngest son and I checked his location, and it was moving rapidly on the map. And I was just like, what is going on? And
to make matters worse, doctors discovered that Daniel was allergic to snake venom. The bite put Daniel into anaphylactic shock and eventually to cardiac arrest, and no last-minute flights were available, so Stephanie and two of the kids made the 24-hour drive to Odessa.
We just had to keep driving. It was the longest drive of my life.
Daniel received sedation, but an MRI from July 30th showed a severe brain injury. Since he was admitted to the hospital, his organs have almost fully healed, but the brain remains swollen. It's still a day-to-day process, with family members being tested.
Us kids are definitely going to grow up a lot faster so quickly. My brother stepped in as the man of the house. He's helping pay for things and provide, and then my little brother just grown up too quickly.
Because Daniel is a Canadian working in the United States and didn't have insurance, the family is facing massive medical bills as a result. A GoFundMe has been raised.
We just we're really relying on the kindness of strangers, and Saskatchewan is a wonderful place. I'm just hoping they can rally to help our family somehow.
Damian Smith, CTV News, Regina.
The Saskatchewan Health Authority has introduced a new policy that requires consent before cutting Indigenous patients' hair. The Health Authority says staff must not cut hair without permission from the patient or the person making health decisions. The new policy also specifies that cutting hair is not necessary to treat lice and should only happen for emergencies such as brain injuries or surgeries. The Health Authority says the new policy recognizes the spiritual and cultural significance of hair to Indigenous people. Residents in Deschambault Lake can expect a continued police presence after a fatal officer-involved shooting this morning. According to RCMP, the investigation is still unfolding. Further details about the deceased cannot be provided at this point. The Saskatchewan Serious Incident Response Team has been notified and is investigating. Prince Albert RCMP will carry out the investigation into the original call-out. Details on the initial investigation are limited, but several people are in custody. Wildfire evacuees from LaLoche were able to return home today with the evacuation order in that community lifted last night. A state of local emergency was also lifted Thursday night after a special meeting by the LaLoche Village Council. Buses began transporting evacuees back to the community from Regina this morning. The village says the park fire no longer in close proximity to the community thanks to firefighting efforts. 12 communities remain under full or partial evacuation orders due to various fires. Saskatchewan wildfire evacuees being forced to flee their homes or sometimes leaving behind their belongings and, in some cases, their pets. As Javin Pelche tells us, volunteers are stepping up, making sure dogs left behind don't go hungry.
No pets allowed on the buses or in the shelters. No pets will be allowed on the transportation and not allowed at the hotel. Wildfire evacuees have not been permitted to bring pets with them to hotels and were left with few options. That's where volunteers like Beauval local James Dennett come in.
95% of all our work right now is watering and feeding the dogs in the community. They're safer in the community instead of taking them out. We had run a bunch of issues with the SPSA policies regarding the dogs being taken out to certain hotels for the evacuations.
Volunteers have been collecting trucks full of donated dog food and driving it to northern communities. Dennett makes sure the food reaches the dogs.
I gave out one truck to Qu'Appelle Lake, one to Johns Bay, and these are full trucks. And I got three and a half to Patchnack and Beauval. Of course, we went through probably about 2 over here as well.
Pretty in Pink is one of the dog rescues bringing food donations north.
Right now we're running low, so it's been a busy summer and people have been sending up as much as they can, but with the dog populations in certain communities, lots of food is needed. So
Rodwin has been bringing dog food up north for years, but says he's never seen anything of this scale. In Beauval and the surrounding communities, volunteers have managed to keep hundreds of dogs fed this summer. Jasmine Pelche, CTV News, Prince Albert.
All right, let's jump into the weather situation. Sabine, I know we're going to see some wet weather this weekend, but tonight some things to look out for as well.
Yeah, we've got a lot of statements issued, weather warnings and watches in effect in Saskatchewan. Lee, just most recently, we have seen some of those special weather statements pop up for Davidson and northwest of Davidson in the gray, if you can see through that, through all of that precipitation on the map there. And that's basically suggesting that the conditions are favorable for the development of possible funnel clouds in those areas. For much of southern Saskatchewan, most of it is in the southeast, where most of it is, of course, severe thunderstorm watches, but that little area down there in the red, those are severe thunderstorm warnings, and they seem to be expanding. Earlier it was covering areas like Mydale, Colgate, and now it does look like it is moving more into the southeast corner. They're covering areas like Weyburn and even into the Estevan area. So to keep in mind, we're going to see a lot of rain come through the area with the possibility of some hail and strong wind gusts, and temperatures, though right now looking not too bad, though much cooler in the southwest there. The average is about 26 degrees. Today wasn't so bad for Regina, got up to about 23, but by tomorrow, a lot of the daytime highs are looking like we'll be sitting in the mid to high teens. So definitely a drop in temperature tomorrow as well, but I'll have more information coming up in your full forecast. Lee?
All right, thanks, Sabine. The United Church of Canada today apologized to the LGBTQ2S+ community for past decades of exclusion and discrimination. The apology, issued during a general council meeting in Calgary, was live streamed to congregations across Canada. In Regina, church members gathered at Lakeview United Church to hear the apology and pledged to continue work towards inclusion in the future.
And so we're affirming today that we just really accept all people for who they are, that we want to let all people know they are beloved children of God, and that our work is not done.
The apology follows a decade of consultations about the experiences of the LGBTQ2S+ community within the United Church of Canada. Sexual Assault Services of Saskatchewan has joined hundreds of nonprofits sounding the alarm over concerns about federal funding. CTV's Stacey Hine explains why.
Sexual Assault Services of Saskatchewan, or SAS, is speaking out after the Federal Department for Women and Gender Equality, known as WAGE, released its departmental plan. It shows a significant drop in funding from about $400 million to $76 million for 2027-2028. WAGE cites the decline is mainly due to the end of time-limited funding. SAS says the potential budget cuts sends a message.
Just shows the lack of commitment to gender-based violence within our country.
The organization works with frontline agencies and community partners to provide support for those affected by sexual violence. It says federal funding has been crucial in helping expand programs, raise awareness, and support 2 research projects. Without it, there are fears much of that work could stall.
I'm worried about the lack of dedicated space given to this issue, particularly in Saskatchewan.
Saskatchewan has the highest rate of gender-based violence in the country, with sexual assault rates nearly double the national average. SAS says this province would be among the hardest hit by the cuts. In a statement to CTV News, Wage says no funding decisions have been made. It says existing funding for SAS will not be cut and support for its research projects will continue as planned. Meanwhile, SAS has joined hundreds of nonprofits across the country in penning a letter to the Prime Minister, raising concerns over funding.
We can build our economy and also invest in communities as well.
Stacey Hine, CTV News, Saskatoon.
In Saskatoon, a group of protesters were outside City Hall today voicing their displeasure not for city politics, but actually a concert. CTV's Keenan Sorokon has more on why they're upset and the mayor's response.
Scoundrel. That's weakness.
What started as a peaceful protest over Sean Foyt's upcoming concert at Diefenbaker Park quickly took a turn at Civic Square Friday afternoon.
You have to revoke the permit. It's too hard on our community. Can't you see? Can't you see?
After the final speaker finished up, Mayor Cynthia Block approached the podium as organizers packed up and left. But roughly half the crowd stayed back, with a vocal few shouting at Block for over 10 minutes, hurling insults as the mayor waited for a chance to speak.
It's not so you betrayed us. Shed your crocodile tears for someone else.
Stop the show. Stop the show.
You're not keeping us safe.
I'm here to help you understand why I'm an ally. Why I want to fight alongside you, not against you.
Last week, the city said Foyt, a Christian singer and preacher who's been criticized over his views on abortion and the LGBTQ community, is permitted to perform at Diefenbaker Park later this month, despite other cities pulling the plug. The city says there's no safety concerns requiring the concert be canceled and is adhering to charter rights on freedom of expression.
But if we are a mayor and council that doesn't do our due diligence and ensure that we have dotted every I and crossed every T on the legal line, and we go ahead and cancel this permit, what's to stop the next mayor and council to do that to you?
But protesters on Friday say while Saskatoon police are working with organizers to ensure safety, that safety only includes physical safety and not psychological safety they claim Foyt spreads with his messaging.
There is no formal consideration for emotional or psychological trauma, even when it is foreseeable. That omission is not only negligent, it is dangerous.
Keenan Sorokon, CTV News, Saskatoon.
With construction season in full effect, the government of Saskatchewan wants to remind motorists to simply slow down with the help of the Highways Hotline app. Brittany Poitras has more.
Summer is always a busy time for highway travel, but it also opens a short window for road repairs.
That's why you see a lot of construction happening in the province of Saskatchewan through the summer season. We have over 26,000 kilometers of highway network to maintain and preserve here in the province of Saskatchewan.
The construction zones are very active, complex environments, even though they may not look as such. Workers, equipment, and machinery are often operating just feet away from live traffic.
They want to remind motorists to use resources like the Highway Hotline app and website to plan their trips. There, drivers can see if there are any significant construction projects to keep an eye out for in the second half of the summer and into the fall.
What they will see is where the orange zone is, where the construction is, and what highway it's on. It'll tell you the start date. It'll give you an approximate end date on when that project will be done.
The website currently lists 35 active construction zones in Saskatchewan where speeds are reduced.
Every sign, every cone, every reduced speed limit is there for one reason, and that's to make sure that everybody gets home safely, both workers and drivers alike.
SGI's website says the chance of being killed in a collision at 80 kilometers per hour is 2 times higher than if you were traveling at 64 kilometers per hour, which is why construction zones are set at 60. The message from officials echoed by those who work on the highways every day.
Slow down. If it says to slow to 60, it's there for a reason, because we're also trying to get home safe, not trying to delay you, not trying to be an inconvenience, just trying to make sure that we've got it all safe for everybody.
Brittany Poitras, CTV News, Regina.
Fort Qu'Appelle is one of the areas in the province that has strong ties to the Hudson's Bay Company. Now a piece of this history is in the midst of being reclaimed. Mick Fable has the details.
This house is one of the remaining pieces of Fort Qu'Appelle's historic past, a link to the glory days of the Hudson's Bay Company. The town's Heritage Museum is looking to purchase and preserve the 140-year-old building, but need the public's help.
We believe that this house is of provincial and national importance. Anybody that has a sense of history, we're asking them to help contribute.
Located on the property next to the museum stands the house once owned by Archie MacDonald, who was once the chief factor for HBC. The house has changed hands many times over the years, but much of its architecture has remained the same, including the brick used for the outside and the wooden staircase up to the second floor. It's a landmark the museum says is too good to pass up.
This is a really important part of our Canadian history, and we can see it being a really good asset for our town, bringing tourism in, helping our businesses.
The museum has launched a campaign to raise $500,000, which will go towards not only purchasing the land and home, but to establish a foundation for future maintenance without the use of public funding.
It is absolutely a stunning, one-of-a-kind home, and it would be absolutely treasured by the community of Fort Qu'Appelle with a park-like setting, and it would be wonderful for it to be maintained by the museum.
The museum has already raised $50,000 and hope to meet their goal through private and corporate donations. In the future, the land and building will be used for a wide range of events, including concerts and parties. Mick Favel, CTV News, Fort Qu'Appelle.
Coming up, the federal government is providing a wage hike for Canadian soldiers. And Air Canada flight attendants are planning a day of action on Monday over their contract stalemate. The federal government is spending $2 billion to provide soldiers with a pay increase in an effort to keep them in the military and to recruit new members. Judy Trin has the details.
That all members of the Canadian Armed Forces will receive a pay raise.
In front of a wall of soldiers at the country's largest Air Force base, the Prime Minister said it was time to recognize the worth of the Canadian Armed Forces.
These are the men and women we trust to wear the maple leaf, the Canadian flag, and to risk their lives for it. Their pay, your pay, should reflect the weight of your responsibilities.
The government will spend $2 billion to increase the salaries for the rank and file. Non-commissioned officers will see raises of between 8 and 20%. An entry-level soldier will now get an additional $700 a month and earn more than $52,000 a year. After he met with soldiers at CFB Trenton, the Prime Minister said better compensation was needed to recruit and retain soldiers to meet current global challenges, not just Russia and China, but also climate change.
The Arctic's melting. Our wildfires and floods are more frequent and devastating. And these are all threats to which the Canadian Armed Forces responds.
For the first time, soldiers will get daily bonus pay when they are deployed on domestic missions to help Canadians during natural disasters. Bonuses will also be given to officers who are deployed to serve in the Arctic and who are deployed overseas. Retention bonuses will also be offered for soldiers who take on additional training. The country's top soldier says this should allow Canada to make up a shortfall of more than 12,700 soldiers before 2030.
We have increased the target for recruits this year. We're at 7,600, which is about 1,000 more than last year. And this is how we are going to gain back to full strength.
Defense officials say this is the biggest pay raise for soldiers since 1998. It also contributes to Canada's commitment to making its 2% NATO target by the end of this fiscal year. Judy Trin, Canadian Forces Base, Trenton.
Advanced polls are now open in an Alberta by-election that could return Pierre Poilievre to the House of Commons. Voters can cast their ballots in a riding of Battle River Crowfoot. The Conservative member there stepped aside to allow his party leader to run in a by-election that is set for August the 18th. Poilievre is a candidate after losing his Ottawa seat in a federal election back in April. For the by-election, voters must fill out a blank ballot for the first time ever, as a record 214 candidates are running. The majority of the other candidates are part of a protest group called for changes to Canada's electoral system. Yesterday, Poilievre criticized the longest ballot campaign that also targeted his riding in the general election.
But that's not what these people are doing. They're adding their names even though they're not campaigning. They don't expect to win. They just want to inundate the ballot to confuse the situation, make it harder for people to vote. People with vision problems, the elderly, others who have difficulty are going to have a harder time voting, and it shouldn't be allowed.
Advanced polls are open from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. for the next 4 days. The union, representing about 10,000 Air Canada flight attendants, says Pearson Airport and 3 other Canadian airports will be impacted during what it calls a nationwide day of action on Monday. QP says it wants members to show unified support for their bargaining committee. The airline and the union are still negotiating, but the flight attendants voted 99.7% in favor of a strike mandate back on Tuesday, so they could begin job action as early August 16th. The simultaneous action on Monday will begin at 1 p.m. at Pearson Airport, along with airports at Montreal, Vancouver, and Calgary. Nothing in Saskatchewan. The flight attendants are seeing higher wages, or they want higher wages, and the elimination of unpaid labor. The job market is tough for a growing number of Canadians this summer, especially young people. 41,000 jobs were lost in July, driven largely by people in their late teens and early 20s. CTV's Abigail Bittman has the latest snapshot on the Canadian economy.
Noah Kelly has been applying everywhere with no luck, and the timing is urgent.
I'm getting evicted because I lost my last job, and now I can't make my rent.
The unemployment rate for those 15 to 24 hit 14.6 in July. That's the highest since 2010, excluding 2 COVID years.
It's been incredibly difficult to find a job, especially as a person who doesn't have experience previously.
Overall, there were 41,000 job losses in July compared to 83,000 gains in June. Hardest hit, full-time workers, down 51,000. The Prime Minister pointed to wage growth as a good sign.
That, combined with the tax cut that we put in place, combined with the removal of the consumer carbon tax and other measures, progress on cost of living. Just to be clear, progress. We're not satisfied that that's enough. There's much more that needs to be done.
But these government workers involved in student hiring say Mark Carney's looming savings targets are already making a difference in their departments.
Hiring this summer has been difficult. You have to look at every specific detail and make sure that this student can be funded.
Less departments are interested because they have less money, they have to cut spending.
Perhaps surprisingly, with the trade war, manufacturing jobs didn't see a big hit, with RBC economists saying CUSMA has softened the blow.
Things are definitely softer. This is not an ideal environment by any sense, but perhaps it's just not as severe of a shock as, what was feared earlier in the spring.
RBC cautiously optimistic that unemployment rate will peak soon, around 7%, and also predicting no further interest rate cuts from the Bank of Canada. Abigail Beeman, CTV News, Ottawa.
Israel's defense minister says international criticism, including from Canada, of his country's plan to take over Gaza will not weaken its resolve. The United Nations Security Council is set to discuss the plan tomorrow, while Hamas has vowed fierce resistance. CTV's Mike Lacouture is the latest.
These displaced families already have so little, and now they're losing hope. Israel's threat of military expansion into Gaza has many Palestinians dejected. There's nothing left to occupy. There is no Gaza left. There is nothing left but dust, she says. Late Thursday, Israel's security cabinet approved a plan to take over Gaza City by military force. The UN calls it deeply alarming.
It is clear that this would risk catastrophic consequences for millions of Palestinians and could further endanger the lives of the remaining hostages in Gaza.
Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says the plan is not to occupy Gaza, posting on social media, Gaza will be demilitarized and a peaceful civilian administration will be established, one that is not the Palestinian Authority, not Hamas, and not any other terrorist organization. Netanyahu says says the plan will help free hostages who've been held for 22 months. But families of those held captive say taking over Gaza is not the solution.
The Israeli government decided on a path that we hostage families feel puts at danger the living hostages as well as the deceased hostages that never will be found.
Prime Minister Mark Carney joined a growing chorus of world leaders condemning Israel's actions.
This is wrong, that this action is not going to contribute to an improvement in the humanitarian situation on the ground.
Germany has gone one step further, suspending all military exports to Israel that could be used in Gaza. A decision applauded by protesters outside the Israeli embassy in Ottawa.
We would like to see a full and unconditional arms embargo, and we would also desperately like to see secure and safe aid making its way into Gaza.
Canadian forces have helped airdrop aid into Gaza, but Prime Minister Carney added, we are seeing the erosion of the possibility of a two-state solution.
Still ahead, a Saskatchewan man has created a CFL version for a popular football video game.
We're taking you out to the ball game on Monday. A quick trip to Battleford to check out the Saskatchewan Baseball Hall of Fame and Museum.
News, weather, and traffic. It's everything you need. CTV Morning Live, weekdays 6 to 9.
Welcome back. Let's get to your forecast. We're starting to see those clouds roll in a little more in the Queen City. Still haven't seen all this rain that was looking like we were going to see on the radar satellite making its way through parts of southern Saskatchewan late this afternoon. Temperatures cooling down just a bit. 21 is what we're sitting at. We did warm up to 23 late this afternoon and felt more like 26 degrees. But as we head into tomorrow, we will start to see those temperatures cool even more than what we're sitting at right now. Winds just over 15 kilometers an hour, and this is what we're looking at. So I just do want to point out the severe thunderstorm warnings just keep moving right now. Weyburn actually isn't even in the severe thunderstorm watches at this point, and now those warnings are just north of the Estevan area, and it looks like it has gotten quite a bit smaller, but still in the area we are still continuing to see some of that precipitation come through. The watches are still in effect in the area as well, and of course we do have those the special weather statements in areas surrounding, including the Saskatoon area, suggesting the conditions are favorable for the development of funnel clouds. So something to keep in mind, there's a lot of active weather going through right now and will continue to be sticking around as we head into tomorrow. I'll get out of the way to show you what we can expect heading into this evening. So it's, again, as we were seeing the system rotate before, it did look like it was going to stick just along that eastern border. Now it's moving further into the province and right now settling into the Prince Albert area, where it does look like Prince Albert will be seeing the most of this rainfall. And I'll show you what we're expecting rainfall total-wise in just a minute. But this is what we're looking at heading into the overnight, and by tomorrow morning we'll see that system cutting through the Saskatoon Wynyard area. Regina will also see some of that rain starting tomorrow morning. But as we head into late afternoon, we'll start to see much of that system breaking up. But Parkland could still see some storm systems, little pockets of storm cells coming through the area as well. And we won't see a lot of that rain really clear out until we get into Saturday late night into the early morning hours of Sunday. Still a chance we'll see some scattered showers heading into Sunday as well. But for the most part, that system bringing all this heavy rainfall will have cleared out by Sunday night. We could, like I said, see more of that rain return Monday. But again, nothing compared to what we have coming over this next about 24 hours. And this is what we're expecting. So by tonight, later tonight, Yorkton could see up to about 35, 36 millimeters of rain. Prince Albert could see close to 30. Hudson Bay, not as much as what we were first anticipating. Tonight, anyway, up to 2 millimeters. But as the day goes on tomorrow, this is where we're going to see those numbers grow, and not until we start to see the system clear out. So by late afternoon tomorrow, close to 40 for Prince Albert, up to 44 for Yorkton, 26 millimeters expected for Hudson Hudson, and even over in the southwest, Maple Creek could see up to about 22 millimeters of rain. Same for Regina. So if you're planning on doing any traveling, getting on the road for any type of traveling for the weekend, make sure you are keeping an eye on the highway hotline and, of course, Environment and Climate Change Canada on what to expect if there are any type of warnings or watches. Temperatures also, for tonight, we're still seeing some areas within that seasonal range, and even in the north, staying within average for tomorrow, but more into central and southern Saskatchewan, those temperatures will be cooler. Yorkton 18, 21 for Saskatoon, 23 for North Battleford, and again, the southwest seeing quite a bit of activity when it comes to precipitation, and those temperatures also much cooler than the average, especially in the southeast in the mid to high teens. Same for us here in Regina, 13 tonight, only warming up by 4 degrees to 17 degrees, but also take note of the winds climbing up to 60 kilometers an hour tomorrow. So rain and high wind gusts force Regina tomorrow. 17 is the expected daytime high, but we'll see a change as Sunday arrives. Sunny and 24 on Sunday, 24 and mainly sunny on Monday, and then basically we're back into the seasonal range for this time of year. 28 and mainly sunny on Wednesday, but then we do have a slight chance we could see some more storm activity return Thursday. But for the most part, rest of the week, we're going to see more of those seasonal conditions, sunshine returning, temperatures warming up. It's just, like I said, the next 24 hours, that looks like it's going to be quite a bit of activity when it comes to rain.
Yeah, not a bad week, though, next week.
Not a bad week for mid-August.
Yep, harvest starting to get underway, so get the crop off. All right, thank you, Sabine.
Bye.
Well, it's been a long time since the CFL had its only licensed video game. That was back in 1999. It's 26 years ago. But one Saskatchewan video gamer is giving fans the opportunity to play as their favorite team and players. Donovan Mace explains how.
Nelson Hackowicz has been a CFL fan for as long as he can remember.
The 1997 Grey Cup's memorable. You could even go back further than that. In 95, the Grey Cup was on my birthday. There's always a Grey Cup parade, and I thought they had a parade for my birthday.
But when he fell in love with video games, he realized his favorite league was always missing.
I would always play as the Packers because they were green.
So he made do.
I want to play with the teams and the players that I know and love, and that's only happened once.
Till he learned how to create them.
Keenan Schaefer Baker, touchdown.
Using the mods and team builders, Hackowicz has painstakingly input each CFL team, their logos, jerseys, and full rosters into a video game.
This will be the 21st year I've modded some version of Madden or college football to be the CFL.
A process which takes multiple hours for each club, but he never really got to share his creations with anyone but his dad.
He would stop the game, have to change this. And then 2 hours later, Dad, come back and play. Right?
Before a new option to download other people's creations, including Hackowicz's CFL.
You get the game and you get the itch to play as the Riders or, recreate the Labor Day Classic.
Since College Football 26 was released last month, Hackowicz says there have been more than 100 downloads of his creations.
He'll start this drive with a pass.
As fans across the country finally have a way to play as their favorite team.
It's still 4 downs, but it's a passion project, really. Not getting paid for it. I'm doing it because I love the CFL.
With recent talk of growing the Canadian game, Hackowicz says he's just doing his part.
Would you like to see maybe the CFL make a stab at making a video game themselves, maybe?
It's a pipe dream, but I'd love to see it one day.
Donovan May, CTV News, Regina.
Still ahead, the Regina Red Sox have advanced to the Eastern Final of the WCBL playoffs.
Wardrobe consideration in part by Colin O'Brien Men's Shop.
Western Canadian Baseball League playoffs. The Regina Red Sox have advanced to the East Division Final.
RBI for Wright as this one's lined over the head of the third baseman, Vanessa. That's going to bring at least 2 across.
Regina Red Sox scored 7 runs in the first 2 innings en route to a 13-7 win over the Medicine Hat Mavericks. James Wright and Brady Bye each had 3 hits and 3 RBI in the game. The Sox sweep the Mavericks 2-0. They now await the winner of the Saskatoon Berries Moose Jaw Miller Express Series. The Berries forced to Game 3 after a 15-6 victory last night in Moose Jaw. First pitch for Game 3 is set for tomorrow night. It was supposed to go tonight, but rain has canceled that. So tomorrow night, 7:05 in Saskatoon. The tennis world is still buzzing. 18-year-old Canadian Victoria Mboko won the National Bank Open in Montreal, battling through a wrist injury and beating all expectations. John Valley-Rao has more on her meteoric rise.
For Victoria Mboko, it was a magical moment and the stunning end to a fairy tale run in Montreal.
I think when I had that winning moment and seeing so many people standing up and cheering for me, it was kind of a surreal experience.
Mboko taking the tennis world by storm after beating the former world #1 Naomi Osaka. Among the 4 Grand Slam champions, the 18-year-old unexpectedly bested to get to the top at the Canadian Open.
Honestly, I would have never believed that I was going to end up in this exact moment, so it's just amazing.
On social media, now retired Canadian tennis star Eugenie Bouchard simply writing, Vicky.
She was very passionate about playing.
In Burlington, Ontario, her former coach said Mboko started playing tennis when she was around 4 years old. And from the outset, he says her competitive spirit was notable, constantly wanting to beat her much older siblings.
Even from the tender age of 5 or 6, when she was on the court training, she was very locked in, unusually so for somebody that young.
Mboko was born in North Carolina to Congolese parents, but grew up in Toronto. And until recently was largely unknown, getting a bit of attention in late May when she made it to the 3rd round of the French Open. This time last year, Mboko was ranked 351st in the world, but has now jumped to 24th and is the highest-ranked Canadian player. She has beating Osaka Thursday while playing with a wrist injury that had her at the hospital getting an MRI before that final match, making the win even more remarkable.
We've seen tennis players miss an entire season with a wrist injury.
Mboko will now take a few days off to look after that wrist and get ready for the U.S. Open, which begins in about 2 weeks. John Valley-Rao, CTV News, Toronto.
Still ahead, celebrating 100 years in business for Qu'Appelle.
Welcome back. Let's take a look at your rural forecast heading into tomorrow. So again, really, we're expecting temperatures to be much cooler than our seasonal. As you can see, Melfort 16 degrees tomorrow and rain expected in many parts. But again, Meadow Lake could miss out just the way that system is rotating. So closer to the western part of the province, we'll see those temperatures around seasonal. 24 for Lloydminster, 25 for Meadow Lake. But then the further we get into central and eastern Saskatchewan, those temperatures cool down and we can expect rain for much of the day. Same for southern Saskatchewan, or closer into the southern, close to the southern border, I should say. High teens for many areas for daytime highs. 17 for Broadview, Pilot Butte, Lumsden, even down in Rockglen, all expecting rain. 18 for Kenora, Carlisle, Assiniboia, and East End Cypress, and 21 for Rosetown and Maple Creek. Mostly cloudy conditions, rainy, except Lear could see just a mix of sun and cloud, and 23 degrees as the expected daytime high. But if we take a closer look at Asquith, located about 45 kilometers just west of Saskatoon, and also where internet speeds up to 1 gig are available through SaskTel. Tomorrow, 20 degrees is the expected daytime high. Could see anywhere between 2 to 4 millimeters of rain, and the winds up to 40 kilometers an hour. Also, Asquith is under the current weather statements with the possible development of funnel clouds. So just keep an eye on Environment Climate Change Canada for those alerts.
Heavy-duty construction company Qu'Appelle is celebrating 100 years in business. An Alberta Agricultural Museum is preparing to mark the milestone this weekend at its annual showcase. Kevin Fleming has more.
Volunteers at Pioneer Acres are moving equipment around the property to get everything ready for their 3-day event. It's the 55th annual show, and every year it features a different brand of machinery. This year it's celebrating a century of Caterpillar equipment.
The company started 100 years ago, 1925, but they didn't start from scratch. They were the merger between 2 competing companies, Holt and Best, and Mr. Holt had actually got a patent and invented the track track system for the tractors. Because where he was selling tractors, they had the kind of soil that wheels didn't work very well on.
Ole Olsen spent a career working on the big machines and remembers fixing one that was hit by a train. He says they were built well and are powerful.
The D8 there, you're looking at an engine that's probably, I'm not 100% sure, but it's probably it's over the 300 horse. But the torque on it is astronomical because of the tracks, the gearing. So yes, they got tons of power.
The museum also has about 40 antique trucks like this Ottawa with a Cat engine that Harry Redding says is in perfect working condition.
Diesel engines in highway transport started in the late 20s, early 30s, but really didn't become popular until the 1950s. You started to see them more in transport trucks in the United States and here in Canada.
The museum covers a large area, and while it's filled with historic equipment, there are also other exhibits about southern Alberta farm life for visitors to learn about.
We have a wonderful Singer sewing machine display this year. There's an awesome quilting display. We have a bake sale, fresh baked buns. Yesterday they were busy baking buns in the kitchen.
Organizers say there will be close to 5,000 people attend the event over 3 days. Kevin Fleming, CTV News, near Irricana.
Markets going in different directions today. The TSX dropped slightly by 2 points. The Dow Jones was up by 206 points. The Canadian dollar, it stayed the same at 72.68 cents U.S. On the commodity front, gold up $1.37. West Texas Intermediate crude didn't move at all, while Western Canadian Select crude dropped by 21 cents. And gas in Regina has not moved. It is currently sitting at $1.37.9 cents per litre. Coming up after the newscast, we've got Match Game, followed by 2 episodes of Fear Thy Neighbor, The Big Bang Theory at 10, E-Talk, and then we'll have national and local news. Local news, of course, at 11:30. A Great Dane on a plane. Fun to say, but it's even more fun to watch.
So this is Horace. He was quite the star on a recent flight in Mexico. In fact, you'll notice people got several angles of the dog hanging out on the flight. This video actually got 250,000 likes, and it was on the We Rate Dogs Instagram page. That's new to me. And there were plenty of great comments. Katie Abrams said, I'd put his oxygen mask on first before my own. Okay, that is, wow, that's a big dog.
I had a friend that had 2 Great Danes.
I mean, I guess you can't, because, yeah, how else do you travel with a Great Dane? Aww. Seems pretty calm.
First class.
Annoyed with all the people taking his photo.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, well, with a rainy weekend in the forecast, heading to the theater might be an option for you. Freakier Friday, the sequel to a 2003 comedy where Lindsay Lohan and Jamie Lee Curtis live a few days as the other person is out today.
This is a true story that happened right here in my town.
Another movie that's out today is Weapons. Missing children from the same classroom all disappear on the same nights at the same time, and chaos ensues.
I hope you're happy.
You're looking forward to that movie, Weapons, right?
I hate scary movies, so this is what I work with. He snuck that in there.
Weapons.